last but not least, we have our guest from the Czech Republic, Mr. Jiří, who's going to present on their experience.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's quite a usual disadvantage and advantage as well, to be the last speaker of the day, because actually I have the feeling that everything important was already said and there is nothing to repeat twice. But honestly, I will have to repeat twice at least one thing. Actually, that I would really appreciate and to thanks to organizers for this special event. Not only because actually two institutions demonstrated the perfect way of how to cooperate on one issue, but as well, offered us to be hosted in these beautiful halls of Hungarian Academy of Science. That is really something that I probably will never forget. Thank you very much. And especially to thank that actually for this special forum on the topic that is somehow not so usual. I mean, within either the foreign or the interior policies, shared among the states. This is like kind of very individualistic world of each state how to deal with its own diaspora. And because the EU doesn't really promote this exactly, so there is no coordination forum on the EU forum. So for me, it's like a good opportunity to verify if what and how we perceive the policy within the Czech, towards the Czech diaspora, if it's only our feeling, or if we share this kind of feeling with more of you, actually from different states. And I'm really satisfied with this experience that I had here, because I have confirmed to myself that many of the aspects, and especially how to think about the future, it's like an important opportunity that probably would merit more often like some kind of repetition of this kind of meetings, experts meetings. I'm not really promoting in this part only the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but because I'm working with quite a very small team of people around me on the concept how to prepare the next steps of our policy towards the Czech community. It makes me really the sense how you do it actually in your countries and how you are reflecting on this topic. I will try to be more. I promise to myself to be more brief and to be probably more explicative, not to enter into the details because many of the details you have already opened here. But I would like to say that. Anyway, the Czech Republic has probably, in comparison with many of your countries, probably not so, robust policy towards the Czech diaspora, for probably several reasons that we ourselves try to identify. First, we are not really the champions in in the immigration. Even we have many historical layers of the Czech immigration abroad that would start already in the 17th century. It was for the religious reasons, but probably it was the last time when we were mentioning the religion in the Czech policy. And then, of course, especially it was the economical and social drivers that brought the Czechs abroad at the end of the 19th century, searching for the land or to the industry. At the beginning of the 20th century, it was, the biggest economic depression in Europe. And then actually the political, it's like a second one. It's like a second layer. It's like a political driver. All these years that actually in Czech Republic finished with 8 are not somehow really successful. So I would say 38, just approaching the German occupation to our country. So many people left, then 48, the communism, then 68. And then actually it was not 88, but at the end actually it was 89. It was like the kind of satisfactory solution that, the democracy returned back to our country. And since that moment, we start to be preoccupied about the Czech diaspora that stayed for over 40 years somewhere abroad, because the communism had quite a very clear approach towards the Czech diaspora. They were the immigration was kind of criminalized decision in your life, and who once left actually closed the door and never were supposed to come back. And this was about to be changed, not only for practical reasons, because with a free movement it was obvious that many people will be actually enjoying this new freedom or newly regained freedom, but especially because it was kind of moral approach towards those who actually always offered to the country in the difficult historical moments kind of solidarity and help from outside, not even mentioning that modern Czechoslovak state in 1918 wouldn't be probably created without very efficient help of the Czech diaspora, especially in United States and in France, etc. So actually we had always a Czech diaspora, a quite very reasonable advocates for the good of the Czechoslovak state. So with all this, actually we were trying to reopen the new stage of the Czech policy towards Czech diaspora abroad, and we didn't really probably were really rushing to employ many instruments. So actually, during the last 30 years, it was like a step-by-step construction of the policy that we have. It's not, I told you already, it's not robust. It's not probably central. Actually, definitely, it's not centralized. It's kind of coordinated activities between different players, and it's quite very attentive towards the Czech community abroad, because even the Czech community abroad was always quite very, sensitive to any kind of state directive approach. So it's like a mutual respecting even, the position of the autonomy of the Czech diaspora that we have abroad. Czech diaspora, it's very, proud of their, autonomy, their independence. I think that still actually what is good for the Czech state is reminding us that actually we shouldn't be depending on anyone, actually. So actually kind of freedom. So it is like a kind of positive, really mutual approach to each other. And to come to the specific points, so just maybe to give you, I told you that we are not the champions, so maybe I should give you some numbers, because it's always useful to have the picture about the Czech about the situation. So there is no official statistics, because the new Czech approach was actually we didn't involve any kind of obligation for the Czechs to report to the Czech embassies, etc., if they live abroad. So actually, it's kind of very attentive approach to avoid any kind of reminiscence of the communist regime that was trying, on the contrary, to control everything. So we are trying to give the maximum freedom. It makes our situation a little bit more difficult, because we have to really to work quite hard on getting back some statistical data that we could work on it. But abroad, we identify among 2.5 to 3 million persons that declare Czech roots. The definition of the Czechs abroad, and this is another point, we use like a definition like a Czech living abroad or Czechs living abroad. We are not really using too much the terms diaspora because we want to be, very inclusive. So actually, we don't want to make a distinction between the Czechs with citizenship and the Czechs without a citizenship. Of course, there are the legal consequences quite clear, but it's not necessary to remind this to different historical waves of the Czech immigration, because there was a period in which these different waves, they even didn't like each other outside. So because we are moving to kind of new period when Czech schools are kind of unifying factor, reconnecting back all these historical roots that we have actually abroad in one common sense. Let's preserve the Czech identity, a Czech language abroad. So we are very satisfied that, I don't want to say that we have already managed, but I think that we are on the good way to reunify the Czech diaspora abroad. And if I'm considering these numbers, 2.5 to 3 millions, the vast majority of them lives in the United States, like 2/3. 1/3 of this total lives in all other countries, especially Argentina, Canada, United Kingdom, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Australia. So this would be like, like the most, I would say, most representative Czech communities abroad that we have. And more specifically, 1/5 of this total number, we estimate about 500,000 are the Czechs with Czech nationality, Czech passports or the Czech nationality really. So they could really be quite, and they maintain quite very intense connection between the Czech Republic and their life abroad. The reasons why the Czech Republic probably didn't build up more sophisticated and more actually robust system, there are several. First, the Czechs traditionally demonstrate quite a very high level of adaptability. So actually the integration is kind of personal ease, but actually what's concerning the Czech Republic, theoretically, we would lose them quite quickly abroad. This kind of sentimental line helps us, but usually it doesn't come immediately. It comes after 4 or about 5 years of the life abroad, and actually these members are searching back the community of the Czech people living abroad to remind, the identity issue, and probably this feeling is bringing them back to the Czech communities. The second reason is that the Czech immigration never caused like a factual or the visible economical economical harm to the Czech economy. So actually, because mostly the Czech policy after the 90s is still concerning like an internal issue, this external issue was not really like a topic for the Czech politicians. Second, of course, and the third, actually, it's something what we are trying to still deal even today, is a perception of the immigration by the inner Czech society living within the borders of the Czech Republic. For many of them, it's kind of freedom of the choice that everyone who left actually demonstrated its will to go to live abroad. And the Czech who actually stayed living inside, in the country, they don't really, so far, they didn't learn to appreciate what the Czechs living abroad brought to the nation in the history. And I'm not talking only about Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk, who started to build the modern Czechoslovak state from outside, but because of this very sad event of the last week, for example, Madeleine Albright, who was actually one of our main advocates, advocating for the quick, fast return of the Czech Republic back to the back among the democratic states, to NATO first, and then actually, of course, to EU. So these people never forgotten about their roots, but the Czechs, on the contrary, they are not still able to see it quite clearly, that actually the potential of this country is not built only from inside, but actually they need to have their advocates even outside. The third, actually, what I would like to really underline, it's the Czech very practical approach. We have tried many times to reflect about what kind of policy we should have towards the Czech community living abroad. And the response is, let's make the sense to practical issues. Let's evaluate their needs, and let's be quite responsive to their needs, to be attentive and to be responsive. I think that the Czechs, traditionally, Czech state were supporting especially, the cultural and traditional activities. Then, of course, maintaining the knowledge of the Czech language, because this is for the Czechs, unfortunately, this is a key issue. I don't know if it's unfortunately or fortunately, because without Czech language, this is kind of key, to the active participation at the Czech labor market, to study actually at Czech schools. What's actually all these activities are kind of benefits that we can offer, to members of Czech Diaspora. But the key is still the Czech language. It's probably will stay forever. And thanks to, I would say, thanks to God, but thanks to the modern development of the life, and especially freedom of movement and the mobility of young generation, this is something that is now having some kind of revival. The Czech language, for example, for those who left the Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia in '68 or even in the 80s, was not really the issue, the reason to cultivate the Czech language living abroad, because if you have no way how to return, the practical reason, and Czechs are very famous to be practical, has lost its sense. But because of the new opportunities after 90s, it's the generation that really cares a lot about the maintaining the Czech language. So since, especially, it's a trend of the last 20 years, 15, 20 years, abroad actually were born about 110 Czech schools. It's just kind of bottom-up approach. It was not a state who said actually, or established the schools actually outside, but it was like a need. And it started off kind of a voluntary level. And the Czech state, in a certain moment, when it was clear that actually this level of voluntarism reached like a level that it's not possible to maintain this level only on a voluntary work, is giving both financial and both technical, expertise level of assistance. So Czech Republic is sending the teachers to the biggest Czech communities abroad, many of the Czech teachers are actually coming from the society, from diaspora itself, but they can come to study Czech language and how you say on the expertise level how to teach Czech language abroad, and they are returning with a new added value, with a new knowledge how to teach really the Czech language to children, etc. So this is kind of still examples how the building of this policy was quite slow, but still based on the identified need that was identified at the bottom, and the state was giving kind of supportive role in this moment when it was identified already as a practical need. And the similar situation it's with the organization of the Czech policy, with the administration of the Czech policy from the side of the Czech state. I told you that the system is decentralized, but in the middle, it's anyway Ministry of Foreign Affairs that actually I'm representing, because my office actually it's within the section of the legal and consular affairs. So actually 2 areas that are very close to the needs, practical needs of the Czechs living abroad. And we are trying to give the coordination, to be like a communication bridge between the Czech diaspora and the Czech institution, Czech state. We are trying to coordinate different activities that we share with mainly with the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Interior Affairs, as well sometimes with Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs. This is the kind of expertise level that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs naturally doesn't reach. And in this moment, actually, we have this principle of specialization. So we give the floor to the ministries who have this expertise. And on the contrary, if the ministries that should have the expertise doesn't have the mean how to do it, because the law doesn't allow it, and sometimes actually because the situation is changing, because the development within the diaspora and the needs, it's continuous. So on the way of kind of subsidiarity, if they can't make it, they send the affair back to us, and we resolve it, as we can. Actually, I mean, with kind of like a general power that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in this affair has. So this is like very briefly the system how the Czech policy works, and our vision is to give to this policy new dynamics. So it means to prepare the new policy that is even more opening the space for the full integration of the members of the Czech diaspora within the Czech society. It represents 2 parts: the communication, active communication, what we do with Czech diaspora, and of course, as well, like kind of informative way of the internal Czech society about the benefits that this country can have if managed to reconnect fully the country with its diaspora abroad. We hope actually that it would work. It's a slow work actually, but we managed in the last actually 2 years ago, we managed really to convince the Czech government to double the financing for the Czech expats community. We have not so far, and this is about the failures, we have not so far convinced the Czech legislative body to give the Czechs the postal vote, to be more active in the political life, because what we think that actually what we have now to do as a ministry to ask for all these favors for of the state towards the Czech community abroad, if they would be active and if they would be the real electorate for the political parties, I think that the political parties, they would compete, to give to satisfy more, the needs of the Czech community abroad and to be more responsive. We are not alone, actually, who is working on it. I told you with the ministries in this sector of executive branch. We have as well, quite very efficient support from the legislative part, but what maybe it's a surprise, it's not from the lower chamber, but it's from the upper chamber, from the Senate. Actually, Senate was the strong advocate, in very important changes in the Czech law concerning, the citizenship, concerning the post-voting and recognition of education certificates, actually for the Czechs, for the Czech children abroad, that would become kind of comparable and integral within the Czech educational system. We try to make maximum possible to make the life of the Czechs easier to return, and through the language, through kind of fast track how to get not directly to the Czech citizenship. We don't give the citizenship to those who don't live actually on the Czech territory, but fast track means to the permanent residents. That actually already opens the practical door to many of the benefits. And if these people really consider this seriously with the Czech Republic, so after 5 years of permanent residence in the Czech Republic, they can receive the Czech citizenship. It was actually, from my part, the kind of brief overview about the Czech vision of diaspora policy. We have to say that both the COVID situation and the last actually tragic event in Ukraine convinced us that to have well-organized Czech community in one specific place can be very helpful, even for the states within kind of rescuing operations, trying to save the life of the people. So it's not, actually, I think that the mean has already proved the importance of its existence. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Krátký, for this presentation, and thank you for the whole panel for these interesting presentations, really interesting perspectives and solutions that you found. But I also enjoyed the fact that a lot of these discussions were started with also stating some of the problems that these states have confronted, and it's sort of a returning thing that it's always the internal bureaucracy that within the governments that actually poses quite a large challenge, and then overcoming that, I see a lot of solutions for streamlining different processes and policies. So I found it really interesting. I would like to open up the floor for a brief Q&A. So please put your hands up if you have questions. Daniel, please.
Thank you. I have a question to Jan Badowski about the so many times mentioned Karta Polaka, because I'm not really understand that why did you avoid the territorial restriction of the law in 2019, and if you extended the benefits guaranteed by the law toward Polonia, why didn't you accept a general ethnic preferential naturalization law as many countries have done in this region?
Does it work? Okay. First of all, the first mode of the Karta Polaka was for the people from the east, from the former Soviet Union, to get to Poland, to regain citizenship, and then after a few years, people from all over the world asked, "Hey, why don't we get it?" And that's why we checked the possibility and said, well, it's okay. You can get the Karta Polaka, then you get the right to reside in Poland, and then if you reside and to move to Poland, you can get the citizenship. It's a demographic tool, let's say. That's why we decided to change it.
Okay, thank you. So it was an initiative from the diaspora?
Yeah, from
not,
the diaspora, yeah.
By the governments, okay.
Yeah, we are listening to them. They sometimes have good ideas.
Thank you.
So I would just like to remind everyone to please send us your presentations, those of you who have had presentations, because we had more requests that people want to go over your materials. So it's good that everyone is quite curious of different countries' policies. And this just shows that this conference was quite important, and we managed to learn a lot, and it seems that we are quite interested in it. And as Mr. Krátký said, it might be viewed as a sensitive issue by some, but I believe that opening it up and having these discussions, we have showed that we have more or less some of the same problems, we're confronting some of the same challenges, and we can learn from each other and then be open to each other's diaspora policies and not view them as sending agents or making agents in other countries, but as actually the word bridge has been circulating in this room for the last couple of days. So I believe that these diaspora communities can genuinely constitute a bridge between countries and should be viewed as such. So thank you for your attention. I would like to ask maybe my colleague Daniel if he would like to say a couple of words as, okay, thank you. Then I will ask Mr. Gábor in lieu of Mr. Commissioner to please close the presentation.
Thank you very much, dear colleagues, dear friends. I'm very proud to say thank you for this very nice 2 days. It was, I think, a very, very interesting conference. I enjoyed only the second day because of the illness of Professor Szilágyi. He's appreciated not to attend today, but on behalf, I would like to thank you for your attendance, for your contributions, for the panelists, for the distinguished guests. So have a nice journey to home, and thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you.